Part 1. The Great Gravity of Loss.
The world outside Leo's window was a wash of muted greys, much like the inside of his own mind.
6 months had passed since the loss, not a sudden, shattering blow, but a slow, agonizing erosion of a long-held dream and the person who had shared it with him. He had lost his small bookshop to rising rents, and in the retreat from that battle, he'd also lost the easy, steady rhythm of his long-term relationship.
Now, his daily struggle was simple: defeat the gravitation pull of the duvet. The self-doubt was a relentless, quiet monologue. You failed. You couldn't hold onto it. You're not strong enough to start over. He moved through his small apartment like a ghost, each task boiling water, opening a bill feeling monumental. This silent, heavy existence was depression, a colorless cloak woven from pain and the fear of ever trying again.
Part 2. The Resilient Succulent. One Tuesday morning, while mechanically making coffee, his gaze snagged on a small clay pot sitting on the dusty shelf. It held a resilient succulent his sister had given him years ago, claiming it thrives on neglect, just like you, dummy. Leo smiled faintly, the first genuine curve of his lips in weeks. The little plant was covered in a fine layer of grey dust, but its leaves were still plump, still fiercely green. It was surviving. A powerful, irrational urge took hold of him. If he couldn't fix his life, he could fix this one small thing. Part 3. A small act of love and remembrance. He picked up the pot. He carried it to the sink, ran the faucet, and gently wiped the dust from each waxy leaf as the water ran clean. A memory surfaced not of the pain, but of love. He remembered the fierce, protective pride he felt the day he first opened the bookshop, the way the morning light had streamed onto the freshly painted walls, and the partner whose hand he had squeezed, sharing the silent, thrilling terror of a new beginning, that love hadn't been defeated. It had simply changed shape, becoming a quiet knowledge of his own capacity for hope. Part 4. Light and the First Step.
He placed the clean succulent on the windowsill, where the sun finally found a gap in the clouds and hit the glass, turning the dust motes into dancing golden sparks. He didn't feel cured. The ache of loss was still a dull throb, and the mountain of life felt no smaller.
But the motivation wasn't about conquering the mountain anymore. It was about taking the next step on the path. Leo grabbed a one notebook and a pen. He didn't write a business plan or a motivational quote. He just wrote 3 words: I can dust. Part 5. The Gentle Acknowledgement. A small noise from the hallway interrupted him. His elderly neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, was shuffling past. Carrying a basket of laundry, she paused at his door, peered in, and noticed the succulent in the sunlight. That's a pretty thing, she said, her voice dry but kind. You know, the plants that look like they'll break in half. Those are the ones that take the longest route. They learned how to wait for the rain. She didn't mention his bookshop, or his sadness, or his absence. She just offered a quiet, profound moment of human connection, a silent acknowledgement that life is hard, but we are built to endure. Leo felt a warmth spread through his chest, not a fiery passion of rebirth, but the soft, steady glow of acceptance.
He knew he was still in the middle of his story, and that it was okay to hurt. But in the quiet resilience of a dusty plant, and the simple kindness of a neighbor, he realized the greatest uplifting love wasn't always grand. Sometimes, it was just the gentle act of cleaning up the dust and letting the light shine in.
Part 6. I Can Wash.
Leo watched the dust motes settle in the newly illuminated space. The warmth from the sun was a real, physical thing, a momentary truce against the cold of his depression. If I can dust was the first phrase. What was the second? He looked back at his notebook. It felt silly, almost childish, but it was a commitment he could manage. He closed the book, stood up, and surveyed his apartment. It wasn't just the succulent that was dusty. The whole place was a monument to stagnation. He picked up his coffee mug, walked it to the sink, and started washing the small stack of dishes he'd been ignoring for days. The mundane scraping sound felt like therapy. He didn't think about the bookshop, the money, or the relationship. He only thought about the warm water and the suds.
When the last plate was done, he dried his hands and went back to the notebook, writing the next line. I can wash. It wasn't a roar of motivation, but a whisper of action. And it was enough. The mountain hadn't moved, but Leo had taken another step.